All right, welcome back. In this video, or series of videos, what we're going to do is we're going to fix a few issues. And the first issue, and I'll show you what it is, will go into play here. If we come over here and, well, it doesn't matter if we pick anything up or not, but if we bring up our inventory window, so you see our mouse is captured. One, our close button doesn't work, but also if we click outside this window here, our mouse disappears and we no longer have control and we can't get out. And another issue is, let me play it again, and we don't need to do anything, but we bring this up here. This background here is still kind of colored, and we can't, pressing the I can't close this window either. And if you remember, we have this input I is supposed to toggle this window, and it's not toggling it. And I'm going to show you why those behaviors happen, the mouse disappearing, and we'll fix, of course, the close button, and we'll fix it so that the background is kind of grayed out. So let's get started on that. So the first thing we're going to want to do is go into our HUD area here. I'm going to right click, user interface. I'm going to create a new blueprint widget, and I'm just going to call this the cover underscore WID. The cover underscore WID is going to cover the screen with a grayed out area to let the user know that the rest of the game part of the screen is inactive and that they can't do anything with it while they've got this window up. So we're going to open this up and we'll dock it here so that we can see it. And what we're going to do is replace this canvas panel with a border. So we'll take a border and well, we'll drop it on there. Actually, we want the border to be, let's delete that. We're going to delete the canvas panel. I should have just deleted it. There we go. We want the border here. So this border is going to fill the entire screen. And we're going to go in here and just very simply set the color to something very, very dark, almost black. I don't like to set things to completely black. And then we're going to turn this opacity down to maybe around 0.5. So it's just kind of a gray area. Now inside that border we need a canvas in order to put things on it. So here's the canvas panel, and we'll put that inside, we'll put that inside the border. Now we'll select the canvas panel and make sure that this and this are clicked. And actually, I'm not sure that I want any padding, so I'm just going to set that padding to 0. Okay, no padding. It's just going to fill the entire screen. Let's make sure this border doesn't have any padding. It does not. Okay, and the canvas panel, no padding. So these two things will just fill the entire screen, and we've got our canvas panel. Now let's rename this canvas panel to, we'll call it the cover canvas. I believe that's what I called it before. And we'll set this to, it is a variable. That way we can access it from outside in other blueprints. And that's all there is to creating that. We can save that, compile it and save it, and we can close it for now. All right. Now, how are we going to use it? Well, we're going to use it inside of our component, our inventory component here. So right now what we're doing is we're, is that it? No, we want toggle inventory. Here we go. Right now what we're doing is we're creating our widget, which is fine. We're setting our inventory window, which is fine. Actually, there's a little thing that I did here that's kind of weird. For some reason, I created a local variable called invwin. We can take that out and just use inventory window. I'm not sure why I did that. I might have had some reason at some point, but it's unnecessary. We'll fix that. We'll clean that up. We're going out to the main HUD and we're getting that main canvas. This is what we don't want. Okay, we want to get that new window, new widget. Okay, so first what we need to do is go back to our HUD and into our main HUD, and we need to create it. So this is actually a good opportunity to use another kind of node here called a sequence. And I'll show you how to do that and what it does. So let's just right click and type in sequence, and there's a sequence. What a sequence is going to do is when this runs, it'll run then 0, and then it'll run then 1, and you can add more of these. So instead of having something that stretches out on and on and on and on, when you've got a bunch of stuff to do, you can do it in a sequence. Do this and then do another thing and then do another thing, and it'll do all of them. Just as though you chain them end after end, but it's a little easier to read when you use a sequence. So we're going to really want to do pretty much almost all of this. So we'll just go ahead and copy this down. We're going to have to change a few things, of course. And we'll just pull this down into this one. And instead of being the common HUD now, what we want it to be is that cover widget. So that's what we're going to create, but we're not going to set it to the common HUD. We're going to come over here and create a new variable. We're going to call this the cover HUD. And we'll grab the cover HUD and do a set, and we'll set the cover HUD variable, and we will take that cover HUD. Oops, we've got to change its type to cover widget object reference. Now we can set it. Set. I didn't want the common HUD. What's going on? Want the cover HUD. Set the cover HUD to this. Pull this into here. We'll add it to the viewport. And then we don't need, well, we'll do the third person mode select just like we did here. No, actually we already did it. So we don't need to do that. But what we do need to do is set the visibility of this. We don't want this to appear right now. So we'll just grab the cover HUD. We'll get it. We'll go in here and do set visibility to hidden. So initially it's hidden, and it's now created and in place, and we don't have to worry about recreating it. We can just call it and set its visibility after we insert into it what we want. And we can reuse this cover HUD for many different things, and we will. We'll have different screens for different purposes. We will populate the cover HUD with what we want in it and then make it visible. So let's compile and save that. So now we've got the, one last thing, cover HUD, we want to make this editable here. Compile and save it. And now when we come over here, so we're getting our main HUD, but here we're getting our common HUD, and then we're getting the main canvas out of that. So we don't actually want either of these two. What we want to get instead from here is the cover HUD, and from here we want to get that get cover canvas, and it's the cover canvas that we want to use here in this target. So now it's going to put it on the cover canvas instead of on that common canvas, but the cover canvas is hidden. So we've got it, we've put stuff into it, we're doing all of this stuff, setting up the anchors and everything. What we want to do, and in fact, once we've got this, well, you know what? We created this local variable here for some reason, and I don't know why. This in-win local variable, I'm going to delete it, which is going to delete this set right here, which is fine. We've got that inventory window, and there's other places where we need the inventory window. Where are they? Oh yeah, the content. We can just use the inventory window as the content right here. I don't know why I created that extra variable for the inventory window. I think it was some sort of an experiment. Maybe I was trying to figure something out. I don't think we need the inventory window anywhere else. in widget to focus. Oh yeah. Oh, and then the widget to focus. So, all right. We've got this canvas HUD and then the cover canvas. It is the cover HUD that we want to focus here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a local variable, promote to local variable, and I'm going to set that right here instead. We do need this one as a separate variable. So we've got that. And we don't actually need, oh yeah, we need to pull this out of it, the cover canvas, and then we've got the inventory window. Do we need the cover canvas to also be a local variable? I don't think so. We're going to be inserting into the add child to care. We've already added it to it. Yeah, I don't think we need to do anything with the canvas after that once we've inserted it into it. Okay. So we've got that. Let's clean this up just a tad. Smooth this over, make it a little more easily. And this new local variable, we're going to call this the cover canvas. All right. So we've got the cover canvas. All right. So once we've done all of this in widget to set input mode only, we want that to be the, no, not the cover canvas. I didn't want to call that the cover canvas. It's the cover HUD. I'm going to rename this to the cover HUD. All right. And what we're going to set the input focus to is the cover HUD. We can drop that right here. Then we need to set its visibility. So let's get this cover HUD again and do set visibility to visible. Good. All right. Now, when we're removing it, well, it's going to remove it from the parent, which will remove it from that canvas that we inserted it to, which is fine. Inventory window, we're setting the inventory window to null at this point, and we're setting the input mode back to input mode game only, which is fine. Then the last thing we need to do is go ahead and get this cover HUD again and do a set visibility back to hidden. All right, so when we close it, we're going to close the whole HUD, cover HUD, so that it goes back to invisible. One other thing that we need to do here, I may have forgotten it. Let me see. Let's save that. Let's go back to our cover widget, and I think on this, yes, is focusable. We got to remember to click that. So we're going to be setting focus to this, so we need to set it to allow it to have focus. All right, compile and save that. All right, now we can test that part and see that that does in fact show up and work correctly. We'll go over and grab a few apples so we can see it in our inventory. And now if I press I, now the screen is a little bit grayed out. I might make that a little darker. We can click in here. We can also click anywhere now, and our mouse doesn't disappear and we don't lose it, because this whole window is what's capturing the mouse. So we're good. Now we've solved that problem. So now we still, however, cannot exit out. All right, so how are we going to do that? Well, what we're going to do is our cover widget is what's capturing the mouse. So we're going to go over here to our graph in our cover widget, and we'll see here that there's functions, and we're going to click on override, and we're going to come down here to on key down. We'll do on key down. All right. So this is a bit weird. This has to do with the fact that when our mouse is captured, we cannot get the input commands like we do for the character when it's in game mode. We have to deal with key events here on our own separately. So what do we need to do? We need to take this key event and find out what it is. We need to do first of all, a get key, and then equals key, and we want to use the same key that we used for our command, so that's going to be the I, and then we're going to do a branch. All right, I just held down the B key and clicked, and that gives us a branch. So I'm going to break this connection. All right, so if it is in fact our I key, that's when we want to do something. So what do we want to do? Well, we need to call that component on the player pawn, and we need to call the inventory component and tell it to toggle the inventory is what we need to do. So we're going to come off here the true. Well, actually, no. We're just going to right click and say get player pawn. And this player pawn, we're going to have to cast it. So we're going to cast to, and we're going to cast it to our player character base, because all our functionality is in that player character base. So if this is true, we're going to get the player character base. Then we're going to come here and get the inventory component, and we're going to call on that inventory component toggle inventory. Okay, so far so good. And so if we got a good cast, we'll toggle the inventory component. Let's clean this up just a little bit, make it a little bit neater. Now once we've done that, we've called the toggle inventory component, we can return, but we got to return something. And so what we want to return is an indication that this has been handled. So if we type in handled, we'll see that there's a function here, handled. This function just returns a handled return value for these key events. And that's it. Now the I key should be working. Let's play and see. So I brings us up, and I again shuts it down, but it didn't get rid of the HUD. Interesting. What did I do wrong? Okay, here's our inventory component. It should set the visibility of the cover HUD to hidden. It should get rid of the inventory. Why isn't it hiding the inventory HUD? I seem to run into this from time to time. Let me check my notes. I know why. Okay, so we can't use this local variable. What we need to do is we need to follow the same procedure as down here. We need to get the player controller and get the HUD. So we'll paste those in here. We need to cast it to the main HUD. We need to get cover HUD, plug the cover HUD into here, and plug this into here. So why is that? Well, I made this a local variable, and so it's not going to be retained from call to call. If I had made this a main variable, we wouldn't have to do this, but I see no reason to save that over and over again. We'll just leave it like this. It's probably better to look it up each time anyway. I don't have a problem with that. So there it is. There's our complete function. It's kind of big. In the future, what we can do is refactor some of this kind of stuff and break it down into some functions to make it a little bit easier to read, but this will work fine for now. This isn't terribly complicated. Let's make sure it works. Here's our I, here's our inventory, hitting I again, and the inventory goes away. But we still can't hit the button. Okay, that's an easy one. we'll get the button fixed real quick, and I think that'll be the end of this video. So our inventory come out. We need to go back to here in our content browser, HUD. We need our inventory window. And this is a pretty easy one. We're going to select that close button, and down here at the bottom. Now these buttons can be a little bit tricky. If you put on clicked, because we're disposing of the window, it can act a little bit weird. It's really better to use on released. Excuse me. And that really just has to do with timing. The on click fires as soon as you click the mouse, and then we're closing the window, and sometimes that disturbs the button because it's been clicked and now it can't be released. So we're going to do on release. We're going to click that button there, and we get this on release, and this is a very simple one. We're going to go out and get that player pawn. We're going to do a cast to player character base. We've done this many times. We're going to take this and say get inventory component, and on the inventory component we're going to call toggle inventory. Pull this down here out of the way, hook this up, pull this in here. There it is. We're just getting the pawn, casting it to the character, getting that inventory component, and calling toggle inventory when we click and then release that X button. So let's see if that works. I click it, it goes away. I again click it, click I again. Both of those work. And now we can click safely wherever on this. So if we have multiple inventories, we can click around on here and get whatever we need without having to worry about the focus. So that solves our inventory issues. In future videos here, we're going to make that much more interactive. We're going to deal with multiple inventories and be able to move stuff around by drag and drop and all kinds of stuff. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.